What's up guys, TSJAwesome 628 here, back again with another F1 2020 My Team Career Mode video, this time for the penultimate episode of the series, for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Last time out of the Mexican Grand Prix we managed to lap the field successfully. First time I've ever done that on an F1 game, and it was quite good to do. I wasn't expecting to yet be able to achieve it at any point this season. Especially quite a high AI level, like when I started the season on 106 AI, and when I started the series on 106 AI, I didn't think I'd be lapping the field. But I will be increasing the difficulty for F1 2022 when we do probably Breaking Point on this channel. But now we're going to get into upgrades. We've got enough resource points to purchase an ultimate upgrade. We're going to go with one on the powertrain, as it will arrive in time for Abu Dhabi Grand Prix quite easily, and hopefully it doesn't fail us. And in the activities, we put 4 separate activities on there, including like a funded team home event, which basically increases the morale of all of our different departments. And then we've got weight training in there to help Ricardo, chassis team building to further help the chassis, and our aerodynamics facility upgrades finally come in. So we now have unlocked some further routes down the aerodynamics side of things, and as we're going to get into the race weekend, maybe we'll be able to purchase an upgrade on that at one point, but considering the short amount of time there is between now and the end of the season, I think we'll probably only be able to wait one more upgrade between now and the end of the season, and it'll be about which one we decide to go for. The weather forecast is completely dry, so probably we're going to get no more wet weather for the rest of the season. Obviously there could still be a little surprise in this episode, or maybe in Abu Dhabi, but I doubt that. So it looks like it's going to be dry for the rest of the season. Development updates, we're still miles ahead. Mercedes currently the second quickest car, Ferrari the third quickest car, Red Bull 4th, Racing Point 5th, and then comes Alpha Tauri, Renault and McLaren. So all pretty close, but Racing Point have not really been living up to what the performance and the performance index suggests from them over the last couple of episodes, and they've been dropping back in this second half of the season. As it does seem that the Mercedes power cars, though, have received a power unit upgrade, which could help Racing Point, and hopefully it will help us as well. We do have enough resource points to purchase that one more upgrade that I said we would, but all of the chassis upgrades would just take too long, and we couldn't afford an aerodynamic upgrade, so we're going to have to go with another powertrain upgrade. We're going to have to rush develop it to try and get it in 7 days for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and hopefully even if that fails, we'll be able to repurchase it in time for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. So hopefully we'll get 2 engine upgrades on the car for Abu Dhabi Grand Prix as our final 2 upgrades in this series. But moving onwards to qualifying, and Brazil's a nice track to drive. Last year we had quite a strong race here, where we started from 3rd, but both of the Mercedes cars went for the alternate strategy. We got to just dominate the race in the end. I think we were very consistent with our lap times, and I do like Brazil. It's good to get in a rhythm of it, because lap after lap you can set consistent lap times, and it feels like it's one of the tracks that, even though tyre wear will come up saying, oh yeah, you got this amount, it doesn't feel like you really have that much tyre wear. And as we come to the end of the Q1, we're 5 tenths behind our teammate Ricardo, but I think it's because I simulated through the session and allowed him to set a glitch lap time, but that's fine. We're safely through to Q2, and as per usual, it's Haas, Alfa Romeo and Williams cars that go out, with Russell in 17th, Magnussen in 18th, Grosjean in 19th, Latifi in 20th, Aitken in 21st, and De Vries in 22nd. So it was actually Alex Albon and Antonio Giovinazzi that were closest to going out in that session. So the underperforming Racing Point and Red Bull drivers this season are not looking strong in this session, but Stroll was also quite far down there in the order, and Racing Point did not look to have improved their pace this weekend. Going into Q2 now, and we'll see if Ricciardo is going to go for the alternate strategy, because he's done that quite a lot this season, and I think Brazil is one of the worst tracks to do it based on what happened last season, when Mercedes were definitely quicker than us in qualifying, and I didn't think I'd be able to challenge them in the race. And then suddenly they went for a different strategy that didn't work out, and we were able to have better race pace than them. We had to overtake Albon on this lap. We do slightly cut the corner. We barely left the track, but that was given as a warning, but we still made it safely through to the next session. And Ricciardo sets another 104.4. Well, actually, I think he said 104.5 in the first session, but still about this time 7/10 quicker than us, as Bottas makes it through in third, and then the two Ferraris look strong in fourth and fifth for Leclerc and Vettel, so they'll be hoping to leapfrog Racing Point at least in this race. And considering Max Verstappen is the only Red Bull in the top 10 shootout, and neither Racing Point made it, Ferrari will be quietly confident. So Perez makes it through in 6th, Verstappen in 7th, Hamilton quite far down in 8th, but only 2/10 behind his teammate. It was pretty close. And Sainz and Gasly also made it through in 9th and 10th. So one representative from each Renault, McLaren and AlphaTauri in their battle for 6th in the constructors, with Norris just missing out, Albon then in 12th, Stroll in 13th, Ocon in 14th, Fiat in 15th, and Giovinazzi in 16th. So Racing Point looks to be really struggling with 13th and 16th on the grid, but we'll see whether they can improve that with race pace. We've seen they have quite good tyre wear this season, as they generally go for longer strategies and use more aggressive tyre compounds in the end, because they're more conservative on their tyres. So into Q3, and this is the session that really matters, about trying to set the quickest lap possible and trying to take pole position. We'll be probably fighting our teammates. Reminds me of the start of the season when we were fighting Mercedes, and we thought Mercedes would be our closest challengers. But since then, it's always been Ricciardo, pretty much from about the 3rd or 4th race. But at the end of our first lap, it's a 104.7, which puts us in provisional pole, as Ricciardo set a slower lap than that. I know he did go quicker in the first 2 sessions. I think that may have been more simulated time though. But if he can match that, then we'll have to improve on this final lap. So we're not going to take any chances, and we are going to try and improve as we head through the first couple of corners, the Senna S, and we're slightly up, but only by a few thousandths. And there was not much in it through that run, and we're only 100th up. But as we come towards the end of the lap, we're about 2/10 up now, and we head through the final corner trying to send the quickest run to the line, and it is enough for pole position for the Brazilian Grand Prix. So we're trying to win our 9th race in a row. And
let's review our top 3 today: Thomas, Ricciardo and Valtteri Bottas. Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow as we head into the Grand Prix.
So we took pole position by 2/10 in the end from Ricciardo, and we improved by just under 2/10. So it seems Ricciardo only just missed out on our original lap, but our original lap would have been in our 4th pole position. So that's good news for us. And Bottas is then 3rd, just ahead of his teammate Hamilton, with Mercedes actually looking quite a bit quicker than the rest of the midfield, about 3 to 4 tenths from them. And Leclerc will take a brilliant 5th, Ferrari, and Sainz 6th in the McLaren. So he's looked quite good in qualifying over the last few races, lining up around this position each time out, but only in Japan did he get a decent result. So we'll see whether his race pace is the same. Gasly then 7th, Perez 8th, so McLaren, AlphaTauri, Renault in that order, but all pretty close. And then Verstappen disappointed with 9th as the sole Red Bull in the top 10, and Vettel in 10th. So at the moment, Ferrari would be outscoring Red Bull by 9 and Racing Point by 11 if they successfully keep these positions in the race. And I think Ferrari would take that going into the final race to be probably ahead of Racing Point at that point. Yeah, it is always good to qualify at the front. our car is just so good that it's really fun to drive. I think they definitely worked really hard. Obviously, they just missed out on qualifying ahead of one of the McLaren cars, which is probably their closest rival, but they did beat one of the Renault cars.
For today's exciting race, Thomas lines up on pole position, and P2 goes to Daniel Ricciardo. A strong showing from the Australian. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Bottas, Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, and Gasly, Perez, Vettel, Norris, and Alexander Albon, Stroll, Ocon, Antonio Giovinazzi, and Sainz. They've taken a grid penalty. Russell, Magnussen, Max Verstappen, and Nicholas Latifi, Aitken, Fiat, Grosjean, and Nick de Vries.
So quite a few grid penalties for some of the midfield drivers, but at the front it stays exactly the same, and we're going to go for the same one stop. It doesn't allow me to remove the final stint of softs, but we are going to go for the one stop from soft and mediums as we did last year, and it worked quite well last year. But at the start of the race, we're going to go to 5 red lights. We're going to try and keep the lead from Daniel Ricciardo, but as there's lights out and away we go, Ricciardo looks to have got a slightly better start than us. We're going to hold the lead into turn 1, and we're going to just maintain the line, and we're not going to be running side by side. But now Ricciardo's going to get a better exit from the centre S, and he's going to pull alongside, and he's going to take the lead over the Brazilian Grand Prix. But we're going to have a better line around the outside, and we're going to hold the position and keep P1 in this race. And in this race I did have a slight recording issue at one point, which meant that from about lap 4 to about lap 28 there won't be any footage directly on board, and this will be ran entirely in replay cameras. So I've tried to still capture most of the action from this race, but it won't be as it usually is. But as we head towards the end of lap 2, setting another fastest lap, but Ricciardo immediately responds just behind us, and at the end of lap 3 we're going to try and improve on our personal best, or maybe take fastest lap back. We've got a couple of red sectors. We do set a fastest lap, Ricciardo immediately matches it, and now on board further back with AlphaTauri of Danny Kvyat, who's trying to overtake the Alfa Romeo of Nicholas Latifi, and he's going to do so around the outside through the centre S, and Kvyat has made the move. Kvyat's starting lower down, I think because of a good penalty, and is starting to recover. And now one of the Williams cars, I believe a Jack Aitken, is trying to go around the outside, and Jack Aitken's going to gain the position on Nicholas Latifi in this race. Now we're going to fast forward a bit onto this first pit stops, and it's our teammate Daniel Ricciardo who blinks first in this race, and he's going to try and pull that undercut on us. This is around lap 12 now already in this race. Nothing much happened in the remaining laps, and we were just slowly edging away from Ricciardo, but he still has a chance to undercut us if he can get out in fresh air, and it looks like that's exactly what he's done, as the Ferrari ahead of him is a bit ahead, and now on board with Sebastian Vettel here, who's come into the pits just behind Pierre Gasly, and now he's going to pull out from the pits, and Pierre Gasly is going to be behind him, so he's gained a position, and behind them are Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen, who are also pitting on this lap, but they will come out in quite a bit of clear air as the traffic of the slower cars is still behind them, but then the quicker cars ahead. Also coming on this lap were Hamilton and Perez towards the front, and Perez has had the leader, the Mercedes pace of the third and fourth pace for most of this first stint, and he's done quite a good job as he's going to come out ahead of some of these slower cars. But as we move further back, we're going to be on board with Danny Kvyat, I think, who's going to be trying to overtake one of the Williams cars up the inside, and he's going to successfully complete the move and move himself up a position in this race. So now on board with Carlos Sainz, who is looking to overtake Pierre Gasly in this race, and Carlos Sainz is going to pull to the outside and gain the move on Pierre Gasly around the outside with the centre S, and Pierre Gasly started quite high up in this race, whereas Carlos Sainz actually started a bit further back with a good penalty, but now Gasly seems to be struggling as more cars come out of the pits, and one of the Haas cars of George Russell has jumped Gasly and is still ahead of Sainz of Verstappen in this race, so Russell's going to probably be holding this slot up, and as we head into the next lap, Verstappen is going to overtake Pierre Gasly around the outside and move himself up a position in this race. Verstappen's still struggling after his good penalty, and Stroll, I think, is going long in this race and is currently running in the top 3 that hasn't made a stop yet. So we'll see what he can do. Is now on board with us. We're going to make our one and only pit stop in this race on lap 16 as originally planned, and it's been a nice consistent sim from us, slowly trying to edge away from Ricardo. He did have the edge of us while he was on the soft tyres, but I think since he pitted for hards, we've actually extended the gap a bit more, and we're going to put on the medium tyres now, and we should have more pace in the second stint from the softer compounded tyres, but it remains to see whether we'll come out ahead of him, but we should be able to. And as we come out the pits now, we do see that he's not even on the screen, so he's clearly behind us in this race, and we do keep the lead as we head through the next corner, and it's good to see us keep the lead. But on board now with Lance Stroll, who also came to the pits at the start of this lap, the same lap as I did, and he's going to come through the first few turns using the pit exit, and he's going to see if his overcut works. He's also going for the same strategy as us, going onto the medium tyres, and he seems to have jumped all of this train just behind him that's currently being led by Sebastian Vettel. I think he's now in a net P8 in this race, so a great overcut from Racing Point and Lance Stroll, which has worked brilliantly here, and now Stroll should have better pace in the final stint. Giovinazzi is going to go one extra lap on top of that to go onto the medium tyres as Racing Point are committing to the overcut with both their cars. I did say their cars were very good on their tyres, and it seems that they're going to gain a couple of positions from them. But Giovinazzi is still going to come out in the middle of this train, and just behind Esteban Ocon, it seems, but ahead of Gasly, Sainz, and Verstappen in this race. So Giovinazzi is in a decent position here as we're now on board with Sainz, and he's going to be overtaking George Russell in this Grand Prix. He's going to go up the inside and claim position on Russell, and he's also going to see if he can make sure that Verstappen does not get a good enough run to overtake Russell, because he won't want Verstappen to be pressurising him, because he knows Verstappen probably will be quicker than him in this Grand Prix, or at least as quick. But Verstappen is going to try and make light work of George Russell on the next lap. Verstappen is going to try and pull to the inside to overtake George Russell into the CNRS, and Verstappen is successfully going to do so, and he gains a position in this race, and they're still outside the points, like 13th and 14th. It's now finally the final driver that hasn't pitted in this Grand Prix, Danny Kvyat, pits, but he started on the hard tyres doing a sort of alternate strategy and is going to go on to mediums. So we'll see where Kvyat comes out in this race. It looks like he's going to come out in the midst of the pack of behind some of the Williams and Alfa Romeo cars, and it's left to catch them up in this race. But as we move onwards in this race, we're now on board with us again, and we're lapping our first cars. We've got Romain Grosjean up first. He was the car in last at the time of us lapping, and then up next we have Nicholas Latifi and the two Williams cars. So the two Williams cars currently beating an Alfa Romeo and a Haas car, and they can't be too upset with that. They've got the edge over Latifi and Grosjean, it seems, so far this race. We're not sure if they'll continue this race pace throughout the rest of the race, but we're going to head through the next sector, and we still got Jack Aitken to lap, but he'll pull to the side, and we'll have lapped our first 4 cars in this race, and I think before we lap quite a few more, as we're still only a few laps into our second stint, and now on board with the Williams cars, and the Alfa Romeo of Nicholas Latifi is going to look to try and overtake Nick De Vries in this race, I believe, and Latifi tried to go around the outside, but Nick De Vries closed the door and Latifi remains in the same position. Now Alex Albon is going to try and go for a move on Sebastian Vettel for P9 in this Grand Prix, and he's going to go up the inside and successfully make the move, so he is actually the person trying to fly the flag for Red Bull in this race, as Verstappen is well down the order. Now on board with Pierre Gasly, I think, who's trying to overtake George Russell in this Grand Prix. Pierre Gasly successfully does so as they head through the Centre S, and he's going to move himself up position in this Grand Prix and try and catch up to the back of the train that has Verstappen, Sainz, Giovinazzi, Ocon, Albon and Vettel in it. But as we head further on, we're now on board with ourselves, and we're trying to lap Kevin Magnussen here, and we're going to successfully do so. So that's our 5th car lapped, but now we're also going to go on board with us for our next lap, which is going to be my fastest lap of the Grand Prix, and we're going to go on board and see whether it was a good lap or not, and went through the Centre S section. Lost the back end slightly, and that caused us to go slightly wide as we rescued it, but it didn't really cost us any time. It's a decent first sector, and we keep a nice line through the next section, and then we've got the double right-hander at high speed, and we managed to actually not hit any of the curbs really on the inside and only take a bit of the outside curve. But as we head now through the twisting middle sector, we're also going to catch up to Danny Kvyat right at the end of this lap, so hopefully it'll give us a bit of DRS, and indeed it will give us some DRS, which is why we're able to set such a quick lap as well, because our final sector was pretty good, because we had a very good straight line speed as we head through Jingsao, and we're going to pick up the DRS, and we're going to set our fastest lap so far of the Grand Prix, and a new fastest lap of the Grand Prix, and we'll see if anyone is able to beat it later on. But we head through turn 1, and we've also lapped Danny Kvyat. Now on board with our teammate Daniel Ricciardo, who's trying to lap the Williams car here, but the Williams car is holding him up quite a bit, and Ricciardo is eventually let by, and it does come at a cost for De Vries, I think it is, and Romain Grosjean is through and manages to overtake him as well, so Ricciardo got held up, and then the Williams car even lost the position. But now back on board with us, and finally we have footage from us back again, and we lap George Russell, and you see our fastest lap is a 106.675, so we'll see if we can beat that at a later stage in the race. The team kept wanting us to come into the pits because they thought we wanted to do a 2-stop strategy, but I knew I was going to the end as I had the pace, and we're going to lap Gasly in this race, so he's still trying to catch up to the back of this train, and we're also going to try and catch up to the back of this train to try and lap them all, and we're going to see how many cars we can lap in this Grand Prix, as in the second stint Ricciardo's really been no match for us, now on the back of Verstappen, who's P14 and having quite a disappointing race, and we do manage to lap him. Probably not as disappointing race as he had in real life at the British Grand Prix the weekend that's just gone by, but he will have now been lapped here, and now we're going to have Carlos Sainz up next, and we're going to lap him as we head through the next section, and now it's Giovinazzi and Ocon, so they're currently battling for 11th, so we're going to lap everyone up to 11th, and now we're going to see if we can lap some of the cars that are still in the points in this race, as Ocon will let us through on the exit of the next corner, I believe, and yes, he does so, and we move ourselves further forward in this Grand Prix, and now on board with the Haas of Romain Grosjean, is trying to overtake the other Williams of Jack Aitken, I believe, and he's going to successfully do so on the inside and move himself up a position in this race. The end of lap 31 now, and only 5 laps to go, and we're just setting consistent lap times here and trying to close in on the lap traffic, and we're now on board with the 2 Williams cars who look to be fighting in this race, and De Vries and Aitken are going to go side by side, and now Nicholas Latifi is going to go and see if he can also make a move in this race. And it seems like Jack Aitken's going to lose 2 positions in this race as Latifi pulls to the outside and makes the move and moves himself up a position. And as we move onwards in this race, at the end of this lap, we're now going to try and lap Sebastian Vettel, who's currently running in 10th. And I think there are at least another 3 positions up grabs for lapping cars. There's Albon, Stroll and Norris all ahead, who we think we could lap. Stroll is putting pressure on Norris up ahead, as Stroll has obviously the medium tyres, as he's on the same strategy as us as we do lap Alex Albon on the next lap. And we now are going to try and push on with 3 laps to go in this race. And it's pretty much been cruise control in the first stint. Ricciardo was pretty much permanently in DRS range of us, but he couldn't do anything with it. He never went for the move. But one man that is going to go for the move is Danny Kvyat on George Russell in this Grand Prix, and Danny Kvyat moves himself up a position in his quicker AlphaTauri on quicker tyres, and he's going to try and catch up to his teammates. But neither AlphaTauri looks to gain points this race, which will be disappointing for them, as on lap 34 we set 2 purple sectors but not a new fastest lap, so that was the closest we've got. And now Pierre Gasly is going to try and overtake Max Verstappen in this race, so Pierre Gasly is going to move up a position, it seems, and Verstappen, his day is just getting worse, and now on board with the 2 Mercedes cars, and Lewis Hamilton is going to try and overtake Valtteri Bottas up the inside of turn 1, and Lewis Hamilton makes the move. So Bottas has outperformed Hamilton for most of the season. Obviously both of them do have 1 victory apiece this season, with Ricciardo taking 2 victories and then we taking the rest. So we're going to move on in this race and onto the final lap, and we do have Stroll and Norris directly ahead of us, and we're going to try and lap them as soon as we can, probably on the exit of the centre S. Stroll's going to pull to the inside to try and let us through, and we now have Norris just ahead of us, and he's also going to let us through, as he also doesn't want to lose position. Stroll, we're going to kind of come round the final corner on the final lap, and we're going to win the Brazilian Grand Prix, our 9th victory in a row. So a brilliant job by the team, and 9 victories in a row is very good, as Kvyat wins driver of the day.
Their way down to the podium for what can only be described as a fantastic day for Formula 1.
So up on the podium again, another 1-2 for the team, and our car is just so quick that, like, even last time out of Mexico when Ricciardo started last, he still managed to finish in 2nd, and it just shows how dominant we've become in Formula 1.
So Anthony Davidson, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
Daniel Ricciardo certainly impressed me today, an incredible performance.
The Constructors' Championship may be a foregone conclusion at the moment, but regardless, let's look at the standings. Meanwhile, Ferrari have improved their position. A strong weekend from them as they fight their way towards the top. Well, that was certainly an incredible weekend of racing. Be sure to join myself and Ant for more exciting Formula 1 action soon.
So we win the Grand Prix with fastest lap. Our fastest lap wasn't that much quicker than Ricciardo, it was only 100th, but we did win by 17.5 seconds. So in the end, a pretty comfortable weekend for us. Hamilton was then in 3rd, 52 seconds behind, but he just beat Bottas and Leclerc, who were challenging him all the way, and obviously overtook Bottas later on to take the podium. Perez then finished 6th, quite on his own. Like, he was keeping pace with the Mercedes and Leclerc in the first, and in the second stint he sort of dropped back and ended up finishing a bit of no man's land in 6th. Then everyone else got lapped in this Grand Prix, with Norris just holding off Lance Stroll for 7th, and Alex Albon was then 9th in the first of the Red Bulls, and Vettel was 10th. So Ferrari gained 11 points, whereas Red Bull only gained 2, and Racing Point gained 4. So Racing Point recovered some points after they initially looked the weakest and will actually outscore Red Bull this weekend out. But Ocon was then 11th, Giovinazzi 12th, Sainz 13th, Gasly 14th, and then Verstappen 15th. So quite disappointing day for Verstappen. I'm just not sure where his pace was. He started 17th and just didn't recover. A very disappointing day for Pierre Gasly as well, who started 6th and just pitted too early, I think, in this race, and got held up in traffic, and that meant that he dropped down a bunch of positions and then didn't have brilliant pace throughout it. But then Kvyat was 16th, Russell 17th, Magnussen 18th, Grosjean 19th, Latifi 20th, De Vries 21st, and Aitken 22nd. And for the second race in a row, we didn't have a single DNF, so we managed to do that 2 races in a row now. In the championship, we're 152 points ahead of Ricciardo, who's confirmed in 2nd place as they head into the final race. Bottas is also confirmed in 3rd, and Hamilton is confirmed in 4th. So top 4 will finish the stands. Verstappen is more than likely to finish 5th. He's got 22 points over Lance Stroll, and Stroll needs to win to stop that from happening. Same with Leclerc, who needs to win to stop Stroll from finishing 6th, and Leclerc is guaranteed at least 7th. Then it gets a bit more interesting with Sebastian Vettel 8th on 67 points, only a point ahead of Norris, who's on 66. Perez is then on 61, so all pretty close here, and Ocon is then on 56, Gasly on 52, Kvyat on 46, Giovinazzi on 44, and then there's a bit of a gap to Sainz on 33 and Albon on 31, and then there's Grosjean on 2, Russell on 1, and now Alfa Romeo and Williams, with their drivers Magnussen, Latifi, Aitken and De Vries, only have one more race to try and score points this season. At the very early part of the season, it did look like Magnussen was going to be most likely to get points out of Alfa Romeo, Williams and Haas, but that's not happened, and both Haas cars have points now, and neither Alfa Romeo or Williams car does. In the Constructors, obviously we're guaranteed first, 387 points ahead of Mercedes, who are guaranteed 2nd, but there's still a big fight going on for 3rd, as Red Bull are on 177, Ferrari overtake Racing Point and are on 170, Racing Point 168, so they're separated by 9 points, all 3 teams heading into the finale, so that's a battle to watch out for, as you'd expect them to be at the higher end positions of the points. Then in the battle for 6th place, Renault have all but secured it, as they're now 18 points ahead of McLaren, and that's going to be hard for McLaren to catch, but it's still very close between McLaren and AlphaTauri, a point between them and in McLaren's favour going into the final race, so McLaren will be hoping to secure 7th, but then AlphaTauri will try to spoil their party. So Haas are then on 3 points, and as I already mentioned, Alfa Romeo and Williams still only have 1 race left to try and score points, and Williams still haven't scored points in the entire series, and it doesn't look likely that they will. But one more thing as we check our lap times, they're all just so consistent. So 1074, 1074, 1074, 1075, 1074, 1074, 1076, 1074, 1075, 1076, 1078, 1076, 1076, 1079, and then we went to pits because our tyres are starting to go off with the 1079. Then straight up the pits, 1067, 1068, 1068, 107 flat. Then we hit a bit of traffic, 1075, 1071, 1069, 1072, 1066, 1071, 107 flat, 107 flat, 1068, 1072, 107 flat, 107 flat, 1066, 107 flat, 1067. So complete consistency, and we weren't ever outside the 107s, and just very consistent lap times. I think I did the same last year. Well, our teammate was quite close to us in the first part of the race, but the car's just so good, and the power unit, the aerodynamics, everything is just so strong. It is very good, and I hope to continue to do this. 1 more race left of the series, 1 more race left of the season, and we'll hope to win that as well. Yeah, of course, we'll be celebrating with everyone in the team. only one more race to go this season. We'll see if we can make it 10 races in a row, 10 race victories in a row, and see if we can claim our 18th victory in a row. So we're going to move on, look at our team acclaim, and we're still very close to Ricardo as we head into the final lap, so we're both around level 15, and maybe one of us will be able to make it level 16 by the end of the season and series finale. But as a team, we're still level 19. We meet all our sponsor objectives as per usual, and Ricardo does have a damage reduction though, so I'm not sure what he did. But we move on. We're now on 7.95 million, but it doesn't really matter how much money we have, because we're not really going to spend it anymore, as there's nothing really to spend it on. For our results this season though, as I said, we won 17 races, we finished second in 3 races, and we have won 6th place at the British Grand Prix, so it's been a very strong season for us, and we'll hope to match it at one final race in Abu Dhabi. But that will be the end of the episode. I'll see you guys next time for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.